Well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. This vehicle might look familiar to you if you are subscribed and have the notification bell on for this channel, because I actually already released a full in-depth review on this 2020 Mazda CX-9. So if you want to watch that, I'll put a link up to it above or down in the description box. But in this video, you already saw the title. It's everything that I kind of really love about this car, and some things that they could improve on a little bit. But as a whole, I think if you're even subscribed to this channel at all, I think you pretty much all know that I really like what Mazda is doing with pretty much all of their cars. And this is a three-row SUV. There's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of families out there, and there's a lot of money at stake. So what we're gonna do in this video is kind of see, like, what does Mazda do here in this segment to kind of distinguish themselves from the other vehicles and see if this thing is worth your money. And if you saw my review, you kind of already know the answer to that, but let's just get started with this. Now, of course, being a Mazda, it's gonna drive amazing, right? So that's kind of what these things are known for. Out of the three-row SUV category, this is definitely by far the best handling, I believe. I think pretty much every journalist says that, but what other journalists also say is you pretty much see in every title of every single car review that they do, oh, is this the best three-row? Oh, is this the best sports car ever made? Or whatever, you always see this, and it makes you question, well, how can everything be the best? Nothing is truly the best. Every vehicle, every brand kind of has something special to offer. What Mazda typically offers is, it's the driver-focused one. And a lot of people in the comments are like, oh, well, why does driving even matter in a three-row SUV? Well, it's kind of a very stupid thing to, retort back with, because a good driving car instills confidence in you. And confidence is something that you want, especially if you're piloting around with your wife and kids around or whatever, because that's usually what you would be doing with a vehicle like this. The highway stability of this, just the handling, just when a vehicle handles well, when it drives well, you feel secure in it. And that's really what a three-row SUV is supposed to do, honestly. And this one does that beautifully. I mean, yes, the Highlander's great. The Telluride is amazing. The Pilot's a great choice. You have all these amazing choices. And I think what really stands out about this Mazda is just, it's got this nice, German vibe to it. It's a very sturdy feeling car. It's really nice and comfortable. It's easy to pilot, despite its size. It's really fantastic. Now, one of the detriments to that fun driving dynamics is kind of the lack in fuel economy. I get it. It's just a four-cylinder turbo. You would think that it's going to be a lot more fuel efficient than the V6s and stuff in this class. It's not. Honestly, all of them are about the same. All these SUVs, they all weigh over 4,000 pounds. If you keep pounding it, and you keep driving it like the way I do, I expect to see 16, 17 mpg. I mean, if you drive like the way your mother intends you to drive, you might see in the 20s, what Mazda kind of quotes for this vehicle. But turbo fours, man, they don't like to be pushed like that. If you keep flooring it all the time, it's not going to be good. But if you baby it, it might be all right. Now, another thing that makes this Mazda great, there's a lot of three-row SUVs out there, but I can't exactly fit in the third row of most vehicles, to be honest. But in this is a legitimate three-row SUV. I myself, even at 5'11", can fit in that third row pretty much with not a lot of issues. I can at least ride for 30 minutes back there in the third row, so that is pretty impressive. And dude, this seat actually reclines forward and back. I do immediately have to be sitting around this seat setting to be able to fit in that third row, but even still, not bad. But if you have it all the way back, dude, you literally have big body car levels of just full-size luxury car levels of rear legroom, and I love that. And of course, this vehicle is stupid practical, huge trunk. There's a little tray thing, underneath the trunk, and even underneath that, there's a spare tire. That's fantastic. Very practical car, especially with that third row down. Now, onto a bit of a negative, and we're gonna see when we go and check out that trunk. All right, well, now we're at the trunk. Well, I'm standing behind the camera, and here I am about to open this trunk using this key. So, well, another thing, this key, a bit cheap, not a huge fan of it. I actually like their old key a little bit better. It's another thing that they probably could have improved on, but no matter, I mean, it's just a key, it's not a big deal, just thought I'd mention it. So, what you see here is actually the trunk. It's opened all the way up. The best part is you can open that thing up in 4 different ways. You can use the key fob. You can even kick underneath this thing, and the thing will actually close. So that's great. But my main complaint is when you open it back up, it is pretty quick to do, about 6 seconds, so that's good. when the thing is all the way up, I'm almost kind of like, you know, hitting my head up against it. I'm always like kind of conscious of this. Like I'm always kind of like ducking around it, which is kind of annoying. I never really had that issue with most other, you know, like lift gate things like this. But just something to keep in mind, I guess. Not a huge deal, but just thought I would mention it. Now, if you join me back inside of this cabin, another, like probably one of the biggest positives about this vehicle is this interior cabin space. Oh my God, dude. Like this thing is so rock solid in here that you have to just sit in it to believe it. I mean, this is legitimately like Audi levels of solidity inside the cabin. I mentioned this in the interior segment of my review. Well, I pretty much mentioned this in pretty much every single Mazda review, but the cabin is something to behold for sure. It is definitely worth, oh my God, dude, it's definitely like a six-figure like interior cabin. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Everything is so well done. You got a nice big block of wood right here. Really stupendous, really solid. Of course, this is a signature trim model, so it's got all the stitching, the leather piping. Seats are stupid comfortable because it's like this Napa leather. But even in the normal, like just the base model cars, it has a fantastic, just the same level of solidity continues. Even if it's not as nice of material choices, and it might lack some of the stitching and all that, it's still a nice solid cabin space, so I love that. One complaint I found with this interior is actually the cooled seats. They're loud as hell, but they don't cool anything. So a bit of a gimmick in this car. Fortunately, the heated stuff works great, like the heated wheel, the heated seats. So that's really great. Speaking of heated, now in the 2020 base models, you actually get heated cloth seats in the base trim level. They actually added a ton of features onto the base level 2020 CX-9. And now that's another thing that I want to mention as a positive with just kind of Mazda as a whole, really. It's just their continuous improvement. Like they do this all the time. You don't have to wait for like a full-on like redesign of a Mazda to get, you know, legitimate benefits. For instance, this vehicle, right? In 2019, one of the big changes that they made were some suspension tweaks. They made the CX-9 ride even better. Another thing that they did in like 2018 and up is kind of address like the road noise, the wind noise. A lot of people complain about just in general just noise driving in like a Mazda 6 or whatever. Well, they even changed out their OEM tires to like these like Falcon tires, which this vehicle also utilizes, and tire noise and like wind noise, all that stuff is pretty much non-existent nowadays with these vehicles. This car has double pane glass. It's just the small little tweaks that really make a huge difference. And for the CX-9, they made a lot of the safety features that you want standard in the base trim model with the cloth seats. And those cloth seats feel amazing because I tried them out in the 2019 and now they're heated as well. You also get stuff like, you know, automatic windshield wipers, auto headlights, you know, stuff like that all comes as standard now, which is phenomenal. Now, to mention some negatives again, some of the things that I found a bit obnoxious is, well, this vehicle being a fully loaded one comes with the HUD, like the heads-up display. I find those things to be a little bit distracting. I know that's a little bit subjective. Some people love those things. Some people find it a safety thing. I kind of find it distracting, especially at night. And I was looking around, there's no one-touch button to turn it off. You actually have to do it within the infotainment screen. So that kind of sucks. Also, the safety features that I actually mentioned, they work pretty good. They actually work a little too well. They start, you know, when I first got in here, like the lane keep assist and all that stuff, like the blind spot monitoring, they're all acting up like crazy. Like the wheels would vibrate, or the sensors would start beeping at me like crazy if it detected any sort of car in the blind spot mirror. I was just like, dude, there's just no need for that. But fortunately, in the infotainment screen, you can actually adjust the safety features to kind of, you know, not beep at you. It'll just give you like a subtle warning, like a flash of light or something like that. That's fine, and at least you can configure it that way. So that's actually kind of leads into another positive, and we're kind of going to end it off with that. The infotainment and just the technology in this vehicle in general is just really well managed in here. Similar to Hyundai Kia, Mazda gives you a lot of this technology, especially in these, like, you know, higher trim models. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, that stuff comes as standard, but all this tech is really easily managed. I like their infotainment, easy to use, easy to control, especially with this little knob here. Everything has a nice tactile feedback with all the buttons, the knobs, all that good stuff. I don't feel inundated with all this stuff like I would in a German car, let's say, like an Audi, a BMW. It's just way too much. Mercedes, like, oh my God, dude, that's like impossible for me to wrap my head around. But this, you get a bunch of stuff in here, and I can actually genuinely use most of it. So those are mainly all my positives and negatives that I've been able to find with this vehicle. So let's just wrap this video up, shall we? So the Mazda CX-9, well, we talked about quite a few things here in this video. At the end of the day, is it right for you? I think, well, for one thing, what I really like with these Mazdas is they actually lease out really well. I didn't really talk about price too much, but these things, I think they start around like 32, 33 grand, something like that. And this particular model, as you see it, is about $47,000. To be honest, all these prices are pretty much in line with the Highlanders, the Tellurides, all that stuff. But one thing I've noticed, like I actually go to Capital Mazda in Cary, like very often, do these Mazda reviews. This is a press car, but I actually go to that dealership a lot. And one thing I always see on their website is just stupid cheap lease deals on these vehicles. So for the quality of vehicle that you're getting for that monthly payment, it's pretty ridiculous. Now I get it, some people don't like to lease or whatever, but for those who do, you can take advantage of that. I just thought I'd let you know, especially for such a large vehicle like this. But I think I kind of talked about this in my review. This car is amazing if you want to be different, right? The thing with the Toyotas and the Hondas, even though they're great cars, they're a little bit basic, you know, like every soccer mom's got one, you know, it's kind of like the generic car that you always see. There's really nothing generic about it, especially with the CX-9. You see a few CX-5s rolling around, but not too many CX-9s, and it's got a nice commanding presence to it. It's a big baller machine, to be honest with you. Nice prestigious look to it. Their Kodo design, whatever they call it, has worked out pretty nicely. It's a sleek design. But most importantly, guys, it's that quality, just the fit and finish, the driving dynamics, just the capability. You know, I had to stay on the highway. Great performance out there. Everything's effortless, and you can literally put your entire family in here and just be safe in it, you know, and actually somewhat enjoy the drive. You know, you don't have to, like, you know, be killing yourself driving something that you don't like. This actually genuinely is very rewarding to drive, and actually I would even take this over to the CX-5 just because I just like the overall comfort of it, the demeanor of it. Is this my favorite three-row? It's up there. I feel like this and the Telluride are kind of like one of my most favorite ones, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. So I think for you to understand, you know, all the things, you know, this is just a video at the end of the day. You're not here with me to experience this vehicle. If you can go to a Mazda showroom, just sit in one of these things, I think you will understand quickly what I'm talking about when I talk about that interior cabin. I think that's one of the biggest highlights with this thing. There's actually like no real cheapness with this car, and I really like that, other than the few little things I mentioned, you know, the little nitpicky things like a key and stuff like that. Other than that, this vehicle is very expensive, very prestigious. It's great if you want a luxury car, but you don't want the douchebaggery that goes with owning like a, you know, a Benz or an Audi or a BMW or something like that. People won't look at you. Your neighbors won't be like, oh, I wonder how much money he makes. You know, there's none of that with this. People will still continue to be your friend, and people won't hate you as a whole. So there is that. Just try it out. Take my word for it if you can. It's a great car. I enjoyed my time with it. So with that, hope you found some value with this review, this little short video anyway. Again, the full review will be posted down in the description box below or like a link above. But thank you all very much for watching. Take care and goodbye.